From the boss stacking heaps of praise on the great Aussie to admitting that his whole team's bonkers, here's what we know about Alexander Volkanovski's free pass from Dana White. The UFC head honcho was more than impressed at the featherweight champ's performance, and he just doesn't see himself saying no to Volk. It's no surprise that Alex wants another crack at Islam Makhachev for that lightweight strap, and he's made a solid case for himself after dominating Yair Rodriguez at UFC 290. Dana told reporters at the post-fight press conference that Volk can do whatever he wants because he's proven himself a million times over, and he's at the point in his career where Dana really can't argue with him. The boss touched on the topic of a rematch with Islam, saying that a lot of fans believed that he won that fight, so the UFC's just gonna roll with whatever Alex decides to do next. Dana was giddy with the Aussie's performance at International Fight Week and labeled it as total domination by the champ. He admitted that he doesn't remember exactly, but Volk took a big right hand or a jab from Yair which kinda shook him, and he expected the champ to get at least knocked down from it. But Alex never stopped going in. The Mexican interim champ's talented, but Volk's just on another level because he started striking with him at a distance, even though he could have taken down Yair any time. The boss thinks that Volkanovski's a freak of nature and an extremely talented athlete, but he's not sure when the fans can see Alex back in action because he needs surgery right now. Obviously, Dana can wait and see how it goes before deciding what to do with him, but a move up to lightweight may not be ideal for the time being. The top of the division looks a little murky, to be honest, because Charles Oliveira doesn't want to fight Islam and needs more time. The winner between Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier might have the next title shot, but that too isn't a done deal. And with Alex on the sidelines with an injury, Makhachev doesn't have any challengers to face him. Volkanovski reassured the fans that he'll be back in training soon and the injury isn't as big as people are thinking it is. He reminded the fans that he recovered in 2022 when he broke his hand against Max Holloway and was on standby for the Abu Dhabi card in October of the same year. Alex also added that he didn't want to scare anyone, and the surgery isn't really a big deal, because he just needs to get a couple of things fixed up and he'll be back in action in no time. Volk isn't ruling out a return for October 2023 and wants nothing more than a rematch against Islam. I have to admit, it's a huge fight because no one even came close to taking Islam out in recent years. And both of these guys put on an amazing show for the fans. Volk shows no signs of slowing down, and this was clear when he took Yair out like that. No wonder Dana was swept off his feet. The great Aussie didn't even allow Rodriguez to do much in the octagon, and he dominated the Mexican to show the world who the true king of the division is. You might have expected an explosive performance from El Pantera, but Alex just stopped him in his tracks. His defense was solid against Yair's weird striking prowess, which just proves how adaptable the champ is. Even though he was the shorter man by a huge margin, Volk had no trouble staying on the outside of the Mexican's range and took the fight to the ground almost at will. Alex was clearly the much stronger man because Yair couldn't do much but hang on to dear life with the Aussie on top of him. Dana may have noticed a punch that snuck through Volk's defenses, but let's face it, guys, he was never in any real danger. Yair did have a puncher's chance in the match, but it was only if Volk allowed him to do anything in the octagon. The champ was too well prepared, and Rodriguez had no clue what was happening in the fight. After the fight, Volk wasted no time in calling out Islam for the rematch, but he also has a couple of backups he could fall back on. A move up to a stacked division like lightweight can be a little tricky, and with the hypes of a new rising star at 145, Alex is more than willing to take a fight with Ilia Topuria. The young Spaniard caught the champ's attention after dismantling the veteran, Josh Emmett, even calling out Volkanovski. The champ's been asked about Ilia many times, even by Daniel Cormier, and he's always had the same response: bring it on. Y'all know Alex is never disrespectful to any of his opponents, and he admires what Topuria has been able to achieve at the age of 26, but he thinks that El Matador stands no chance against him. People kept bringing his name up to the champ, so he addressed the issue on his YouTube channel, saying that they even did a face-off now, so let's do it. I'm not sure if Dana would push a young, promising guy like that into the jaws of the great Aussie, but it'll definitely be an interesting fight to see. Still, Volk probably knows that it might not happen, so he has eyes on the bantamweight champ as well. Aljamain Sterling said in the past that he wants to move up, and Alex is happy to give him a warm welcome at 145. He also told Aljo that he doesn't need to go through anyone else. He can come up and fight the champ directly. Folks also curious to see if the Funkmaster can take the loss and stay at featherweight, or whether he'll go back down to 135. Aljo's a big guy in the bantamweight division and has said that his fight with Sean O'Malley's going to be the last one in the weight class. He wants to chase that double champ status. And he also needs to vacate the belt at 135 so that his buddy, Merab Dvalishvili, can pick it up. These two are very close friends and training partners, and to the displeasure of Dana, they don't want to fight each other, even though Merab's the top contender in the division. Aljo's supposed to be fighting O'Malley at UFC 292, so a match with Volkanovski might not be happening immediately. Topuria looks more likely than Sterling, but Islam's itching to get his hands on the little Aussie man. Right after UFC 290, the Dagestani ace tweeted, tagging Dana and asking for his next opponent and location. Given the timing of his post, you can imagine that he heard the interviews that Volkanovski gave and what he said about him. Islam may have won a unanimous decision at UFC 284, but he was under a lot of fire for robbing the fight because several fans believed that Alex won. And then there was the whole thing about him using an illegal IV. Makhachev probably wants to prove that he won fair and square and was only being bullied by the Australian fans. He's willing to put his title on the line again because he isn't afraid to face the guy who gave him the toughest fight of his career. The UFC October card's usually reserved for the Abu Dhabi event, which is the second home for Makhachev, and Volk promised that they were going to do the match again in Islam's backyard. There's going to be a lot on stake for both of these men since Alex wants that elusive double champ status, and Islam wants to establish himself as the best pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. The fans want to see it, so it'll be a massive pay-per-view event, which means a lot of money for both of these fighters, and obviously for Dana as well. The boss seems to be favoring the fighters from down under a lot, and that's because he thinks that these guys are just crazy. Volkanovski and Israel Adesanya are two of the best champions that Dana's ever had on the roster, and that's because these guys are absolute savages, who are willing to fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. Dana even mentioned Dan Hooker, who was fighting on the same card as Alex, and even though he broke his wrist in the second round against Jalen Turner, the Hangman still went through with the entire fight and was able to secure a win for himself. But Volkanovski's the crown jewel of city kickboxing, and he makes everyone look even better. Even with the size and the reach disadvantage, the man just doesn't give a damn and goes into the octagon to take care of business. He's never said no to any fighter that Dana's thrown him against and looks to improve his game every single time. No wonder the boss can't get enough of him. So there you have it, folks. From admitting that his whole team is just bonkers, to the boss stacking heaps of praise on the great Aussie. That was everything about Alexander Volkanovski's free pass from Dana White.